Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm not. I have decided to put in my application for the Islamic television station Memory TV because I truly think they're the only place that can express my deepest feelings about this Vice article I read yesterday.
ده لو اسمه إعلام أقسم برب العزة أضرب نفسي بالنار دلوقتي.
So what is this damn haram Vice article that I'm talking about? Well, let's just take a look at the most atrocious thread on Twitter at the moment. New. Reporters who survived the deadly Capitol riot are still struggling. Some won't even go back into the building. Several have sought therapy to deal with trauma, and many still aren't sleeping well. So essentially this article is it's a collection of stories from journalists who were at the Capitol riot. But, surprisingly, people like Elijah Schaffer and anyone that's not left of center is left out of these stories. But let's just read some of the highlights from here because there's some shocking stuff. It's eerily back to normal, but sometimes it feels like one of those horror movies, like the end of Jaws, said Wasson. Everything feels copacetic on the beach, but you wonder if there's anything out there. Oh, and if that wasn't enough for you, it's my office, the building I love most in the f***ing world. I used to call the Capitol my girlfriend. I've devoted 15 years of my goddamn life to that building, said freelance reporter Matt Laszlo, choking up. Now, I don't want to be there. What? Okay, and the only thing really giving me hope in life after reading this nonsense is seeing the ratio here. You always know it's going to be good when there are significantly more quote tweets than retweets and likes. Wussies. Just drama queens. I honestly thought there were no survivors. Tell me you're a pussy without telling me you're a pussy. This one was good. Good grief. Reporters have covered war. Some of us were present when the Twin Towers fell. This is embarrassing. Reporters were actually killed in Vietnam and Iraq. Just statement. Nothing else. Just gonna leave you guys with that. Chew on that. Thoughts and prayers. That's good too. Thoughts and prayers for our journalists, guys. Here you go. Reporters who still survived. You mean all of them? Yes, all of them. This is perhaps the most shameless display of melodramatic narcissism I have witnessed in my entire life. I would like to repeat the most important question here, and that is, how many journalists died at the Capitol riots? Let me just check my notes right here. Zero. None. Nada. Zippo. In fact, despite this whole article trying to make it appear as though journalists were the ones who had the highest threat against them on January 6th, all of the people who died at the Capitol riot were Trump supporters, of which the highest threat was old age and unrelated medical emergencies. A quick recap of the 5 reported deaths. Firstly, Officer Sicknick was number 1 in the news all over the place as being a victim killed by the riot. The truth? He died of a stroke a day later, which was ruled as natural causes unrelated to what happened on January 6th. So cut that away and we are down to 4. 3 sadly passed due to medical incidents, including heart attacks and strokes. Not being attacked, not being trampled, not in some crazy violent behavior, which leaves us with 1. The only person who was intentionally killed at the Capitol riot, Trump supporter Ashley Babbitt, who was unarmed and shot by a Capitol guard as she was crawling through a window into another part of the building. That is simply the facts, and it certainly has been interesting to see all these people jumping up and down about unjustified police shootings of unarmed people just zip their mouth about this one and not say a word. But once again, another conversation on hypocrisy for another day. I'm not saying that trespassing, vandalism, or anything that went down with those who rioted at the Capitol was justified. I personally think it was a very stupid thing to do, and I've always been consistent about that. But I'm also not going to let journalists just sit here and weave these self-serving narratives of victimhood based on manipulative pity parties and delusion. Just last year, 50 journalists were killed in relation to their work, and I would like us to take a real quick look here at where those journalists died. Let's take a look at the figures from 2020. We have 50 journalists killed and 4 media assistants killed. Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, Colombia, Egypt, India, Mexico, Philippines, Russia, Somalia, Venezuela, Yemen, no USA. All right. Well, I'm sure that in 2021, we'll see USA deaths there because that's when this tragic, dreadful event for journalists happened. 12 journalists killed. That must all be at the Capitol. What? We've got Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Bangladesh, Greece, Lebanon. Where's the US? Oh my goodness, Vice told me that this was a deadly event for journalists. Guys, if you're still not quite, journalists, if you're still not quite understanding the picture I'm painting for you here, this is the World Press Freedom Index. You report in one of these black countries, you're going to have a bad time, probably going to go to jail, probably going to die. Red, not going to be fun. Not going to have too much fun. Orange, a bit better, but still not quite free. Yellow, light yellow, cruisy. These are like top freedom, press freedom indexes in the world. Obviously, Australia, Canada, America, Nordic countries. Cruisy! I think the phrase that I'm looking for here is check your privilege. I'm not suggesting that journalists are never in danger in America. I mean, look at Andy Ngo. He gets attacked constantly. Not that the mainstream or the people writing this article care about that. They clearly care more about people who snapped some photos at the Capitol and then went home to get Uber Eats. But my point is there, we need journalists who do not exaggerate their danger, because otherwise we do not get truth. We get their skewed perceptions of what happened. And I'm not even suggesting that these people are lying about how they feel. Some of these journalists may very well not be able to sleep at night and not be able to visit their imaginary girlfriend, the Capitol building anymore. I don't doubt there are some grown men that feel this way for some reason. But just because a child goes home and has trouble sleeping after a fireworks show and tells his parents he almost died does not mean we suddenly report on fireworks as if they're a war zone and as if that child were actually in danger. He may feel that way, but we understand a child's perception of the world is not accurate. The same way, many of these journalists' perception of the world and what happened may not be accurate. Reporting on them as those who survived is obviously a ridiculous exaggeration that can be pointed out using the facts. None died, everyone survived, only Trump supporters died, and most of natural medical errors. And journalists out here saying stuff like, I remember just feeling unsafe in my house. It occurred to me, I wonder if some protesters could show up at my house, and I was trying to assess whether there was actually any danger to me and my family. Well, we can easily compare and contrast this with the facts, and this is something that just didn't happen. This is someone's imagination. From recent memory, the only journalist who has had crowds of rioters show up at his house has been Tucker Carlson, and I don't remember seeing a Vice article on that. Instead, they're reporting on people imagining it happening. And quite frankly, a lot of the stuff that these people are complaining about is simply the job of being a journalist. I've been in riots where bricks are flying and explosions are going off as a 20-year-old girl doing this. And you know what? That was part of my job. I chose to be there to get the footage. I've also been threatened, I've been arrested and had people attempt to attack me while reporting, and that's not a good thing, obviously, and it's fine to want to talk about. And if I felt there were merit to these journalists' complaints, I would think that was horrible. I don't care what your politics or background is, journalists should feel safe doing their work, but in this case, it is just so blatantly a narrative. It is so obviously melodramatic and ignorant of the actual facts of the case. I mean, it's pretty easy to just observe reporting over the last year and compare it to this narrative. Despite the fact that dozens of people died at the BLM protests, dozens of journalists were attacked, we never got stories like this of people fearing for their lives. In fact, we got reports about how things were mostly peaceful, which is technically something you could have written about January 6th too. There were literally journalists ducking for cover from gunshots while reporting on simply George Floyd's memorial, and I do not recall seeing an ounce of melodrama from that guy, or really even any reporting on whether he can sleep at night or not. He just professionally stated the facts. But you know what? I also reckon his network didn't ask him to say much more, or any other networks. They didn't reach out to write a big story on how he was feeling because there wasn't much political convenience in milking that story, whereas the Capitol riot, there's a lot of political convenience there to milking that. I swear, 2030, we're gonna still have stories coming out about how someone lost a shoe or a water bottle there. It's just madness. I don't know, guys. I could go on about this forever, but I really just found this whole Vice piece to be embarrassing. I got secondhand embarrassment reading it. I have done some silly things in my life, but I am glad that I can at least say I have never called the Capitol building my girlfriend and told people I couldn't sleep at night because I had to snap photos of a riot, i.e. do my job, in a place where no journalists were killed and where the press have some of the highest safety in the world. I guess I'll just end this video with a thank you to Vice. I am a huge fan of the Babylon Bee. I am a huge fan of The Onion and all these satire sites, but none of them have ever quite made it to your level. This is some top-notch cringe, and it's, I'm always excited to see what you have next for us. As for everyone else, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and hit that little bell button, and I will see you at my next rant. Bye.